All right. My name is Daniel Posney. We haven't met before, but this is called Shifting Perspectives. And I kind of named it this way because that's kind of what happens in a lot of the session work that I do and in my own life is that when we shift the perspective from a less egoic state into more of a truth or honest state. And that's kind of what really helps to heal and integrate traumas and misconceptions and distortions of reality and old beliefs and all that kind of stuff. It's just shifting perspective. And then it's something much different than looking through rose-colored glasses or spiritual bypass and stuff like that. It's not really, what's it called? Putting lipstick on a pig kind of thing, but it's really more seeing the truth of things. It's only the mind that distorts the reality into something that kind of fits what it wants. So today is about the frustrations of expectation and how to heal that. And I want to set this up in a way that there needs to be some kind of discussion beforehand. And if you're on this call, if you're on this Zoom call, then you're probably into what I'm about to say. We all have the choice of living in what people would call the collective consciousness, or some people call it the 3D, just the basic 3D, just the physical touch. This is going on. This pisses me off. They should stop doing that. And I go like this until I die. That's kind of the normal way of living. But chances are, if you're on this call, you're looking for some deeper understanding of, or a shift in perspective. So, I don't believe that we're here just for the physical realm, just for this physical experience. And there's actually something, I don't know exactly what, maybe it's learning, maybe it's not, maybe it's just God experiencing, I'm not really sure. But there's something deeper going on with all the different signs and signals that that we get over our lifetime. It seems like there's something else going on. And so that's where I tend to go, is to find out what is the deeper truth of things. So one of my themes was always about not feeling appreciated. That's just one of them. Guilt and obligation and just insecurities and all that. And I've talked to this concept before about being in a holodeck of that insecurity. Like you could think of it as a room or a space that is all about that frequency of consciousness. Feeling not appreciated and insecurities and jealousies and all that in that room, that's all you're going to experience, but in little different ways. So you have a relationship and it's going to have little flavors of insecurity and jealousies and betrayals and all that. But the questions are, how do I get out of that room? And this is kind of what I'm talking about. This is this frustration of expecting or wanting to expect better behavior from people. So let's take the dishes thing. This one just came up in a session I just had with a couple. And this has happened with me too, and I'm sure it's happened with a lot of people on this call, is that you, the husband or the wife, or the boyfriend or girlfriend, wants your partner to do more dishes. It's the normal thing. Or like me, I want it to be just, say hello when I walk in the door, or say goodbye and I love you and I'll miss you when I leave, kind of thing. God, it's just, is it too much to ask to have this expectation of, consideration kind of thing? And I have had that for a long time, of this, why can't people just be considerate kind of thing? And really what it was about is about just a little bit of validation. And it's perfectly fine. Like to want those things, to need those things, are perfectly normal behavior, until it starts being a pattern or a theme of frustration. Then you start going, well, why is this betrayal or this expectation that doesn't get fulfilled? Why does it keep on happening? And if you're kind of a doer person, you think, well, what can I do differently? There must be something wrong with me that I'm not doing so that I get this expectation. Should I ask for it more? And that could be a solution. That this wife that I was talking to, if I just asked my husband, hey, you need to do the dishes more. And I spoke to him about my own relationship. My wife said, while we're sitting there, she said, could we be more conscious of leaving dirty dishes in the sink before we go to bed, that we would take care of those dishes before we went to bed. And when she said it that way, when she said, could we, what she was doing was she was acknowledging that she does it too, which kind of took the heat off of my, you know, um, potential trigger of, well, she's just blaming me for the dishes and she doesn't, you know, all this, like the thoughts start coming in, you know. So, but when she said it that way, it already kind of reduced the argument that my mind was starting to have. Wait a minute, you do this. So when she said it that way, that was a great way to say it. And my position is, I don't really want or need everyone to change for me. Because then I'm getting this thing, if I just demand or ask even everyone to change their behaviors, how am I evolving? What's really happening? Now I've set my conditions of my life into, everyone's got to fit into my mold of what's good and bad behavior. And it reminds me of the movie The Shack, where the guy was wanting some punishment to happen to his daughter's murderer. And it gets to be the message he was getting from Spirit was, so you want every single person to have everything fulfilled and what they need as their punishment for people. And it's like, well, who is God then? Who's running, you know, it's like everybody's playing God, everyone's wanting their punishment for everyone. Where does that leave us? So it's kind of the extreme example, but what it kind of comes back to is that if I just demand everyone to do more dishes and acknowledge me in the way that makes me happy today, which may change tomorrow, and everyone's got to change who they are to satisfy my sliver of perception. And it's not really what I want. It's really what my egoic mind wants. My egoic mind says, yes, I'll take that. It's like, sometimes we even say that out of our mouth. We'll say, yeah, everyone should stop being an asshole. They should be nice to me and they should be considerate and everybody should be a nice person and we wouldn't have wars. But you know what? That's not really what we're here for. It's not really for everyone to line up into one way of thinking so that we're all the same being. You know, it's I've heard even the people that are in wars, some of them are actually happy. Some of those people are actually being fulfilled in the war. So to even stop the wars, that's not really going to solve the problem. But what if we allowed everyone to be as they are and we changed our reaction to those people? We looked inside of ourselves and said, okay, I want this person to change, but what am I really needing? So like the dishes thing, so that what happened with that session was she said, you know, I want him to do the dishes more. He's like, you know, I feel he's not considerate. And so we kind of did some Byron Katie, some work around it. We said, number one, is he really inconsiderate? And in that moment, you know, maybe she said, yes, he is inconsiderate. He should do the damn dishes. I'm doing the dishes all the time and he's just not doing anything, so he could. So the next question is, are you 100% sure that this man is not considerate? Well, then it came to, well, he is considerate. He is very loving and he loves me, but in that moment, he's not considerate. But, answer the question, yes or no. Is he inconsiderate? No. It's kind of like a litigation, sort of like it's just really getting down to the truth. And then the next question is, well, how do you change when you feel he's being inconsiderate? And she says, I get angry. And then, of course, I can't stop there at just anger. What's underneath the anger? Well, I feel like I'm not worthy. Now you've got to the point. It's not just that it pisses you off, it's because it makes you feel like you're not worthy of someone doing something for you or to be considerate towards you, or they're not acknowledging that that they appreciate you or whatever the thing is. It always leads down to some little belief about something. And then the last question is, who would you be and who would he be if you didn't have that belief that he is inconsiderate? And then I would be happy. I would be in love. I would be, loving my life. And then the next question, the next extra thing is, turn the turnaround and say, instead of he's inconsiderate, he is considerate. and just leave it at that. Just say, well, let's just try that on, try that jacket on, try that shirt on. He is considerate. And then the other turnaround is I'm inconsiderate. Maybe I'm not knowing that he's going through something, or he's actually working on something, or sometimes I don't do the dishes or do something for him, and I just don't remember, or I just don't think about it. And it's not because I'm inconsiderate. I just wasn't there, kind of thing. So it's really a way to kind of see the truth of things and stop believing the thoughts that come to us from our mind. So then the next part of that session was, okay, so if you felt like when someone doesn't do something that you feel that they should do, that you have this expectation, and when they don't do it, it means something about you. You're not lovable, you're not worthy, you're not appreciated, whatever the thing is. If you were to go to that person and say, I need you to say hello to me when I come in the door, or I need you to say goodbye to me as I leave. And if that person did that, would you fix the problem? And the answer is probably not. It wouldn't really fix the deep emotional trigger or trauma that's inside of you that was developed way back in the past. Just someone showing up and taking the physical action is not going to heal the emotional thing. It's going to feel better in the short term, but then it's going to feel good, and then you're going to be expecting that behavior all the time. And if they don't, then you're going to be upset, and it's just going to continue down that road. But if the person does both and listens to you and is considerate of you, and they do what you want them to do while you're working on yourself, while you're healing and integrating the emotions that come up when they don't do it. So isn't that to me, that's kind of the perfect thing is, yeah, we all want and need and love acknowledgement and consideration and validation. All those things are beautiful feelings. I love them. I love feeling validated and loved and appreciated in that. But when I start to feel that there's an emotional trigger in there somewhere, that when I don't get it, that's when I want to do the work on it. So that way, when it does come, it just comes in a just nice, I don't know, like a fresh, clear way of experiencing that. And then if it doesn't happen next time, I'm not trapped in my egoic mind about why it didn't happen and what that means and all that stuff. So that's why I say, the solution is not necessarily to get that particular need met. Like in the short term, yes, people should be nice to you. People should share in the household responsibilities. People should drop what they're doing and acknowledge, that they love you and that you're appreciated in the household. Yes, those are all fantastic things, and not saying no to those. I'm not like some kind of spiritual bypass. You don't need anything kind of thing. And at the same time, just realize that you have an emotional trigger there. It's not just that you're angry that this person isn't being considered. It's something deep inside of you that there's causing some kind of emotional thing. That's the thing for you to work on. And what the cool thing is, that this is what I began to explain to them, is that when you do, like, let's say he does the dishes once or twice and you feel great about that. But while he's doing his best to remember to do the dishes for you and for the household, you look into yourself and you start to do what they call self-inquiry. You start to look at where that emotion comes from, where in your childhood or in your earlier life that you started to feel those emotions, and you start to heal and integrate that. Here's the cool thing that happens, and I know this is the kind of a deep kind of thing to think about, but it's not that you're fixing this life right now. It's not that you're going to continue on this life and this trajectory with this problem solved. Okay, that's very much like very physical. Okay, I'm here in this world. I dealt with this, and now I've resolved this issue. What's actually happening, I can't prove this, but I believe what's actually happening is you shifted your consciousness. And that consciousness is existing in a different reality. So you have notched yourself into another reality, a reality that the frequency of consciousness of what you experience is of a different range of consciousness frequency. You're no longer down here in this frequency of being frustrated and everyone's, not being considerate of you, and this is just where you live. You've actually, through your own healing and integration, you've notched yourself out into another frequency. You've brought yourself to a new holodeck of reality. And that's the cool thing, is that, people say, after this session or after this retreat, what happens when I go home? I get all this great information, but now I'm going to go back into the shit, and then, I'm going to have to deal with it. That's actually not what happens. What I believe is that when you're in the retreat, or when you thought about doing the retreat or the session or the call, or whatever, just you acknowledging that you're going to step into a different perspective, you've shifted into another reality. Then when you're in the session, you're shifting into another reality. Every time you get this aha moment, this epiphany, and then when you leave, you're now in a different reality than you were before. And those things, that reality has different conditions. It has different experiences and different feelings. And maybe there's still a little trickling of, what you experienced before, but it's just enough to kind of give you the flavor of what you were working on before, but it's not as intense as it once was. And that is what I feel like is happening with what you might call past or parallel lives, is that sometimes if I have a feeling of insecurity or not feeling appreciated and that kind of stuff, it's only because in some parallel life, I am living that in a deep way. Like I am in the muck of insecurity. I'm a slave to, all that stuff. And here in this life, it's just not quite as profound, but it's still kind of there. It's like this, it's trickled in on a line from that life into this life. Again, I can't prove that, but I've always heard that if you can imagine it, it's probably true. It's probably existing if you can imagine it. And I wonder if that's true, if there's are multiple realities, boom, 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 existing all at the same time. And as we shift who we are and how we believe and our insecurities and our traumas and all that, that we shift into this other reality. A good kind of example of that, kind of in a playful way, I guess you might say it, and sometimes violent way, is Everything Everywhere All at Once, that movie. Excuse me. And it kind of shows in a way that, there's all these realities already existing. And if she, the main character, needs to have martial arts skills right now, she needs to do something to put herself in the reality where she connects in with those skills, with the reality where that already exists. It's kind of a neat concept that the current reality needs to be distracted in some way. It's like one guy, what he needs to do is paper cut all of his fingers to distract his mind, to make some kind of shift in the quantum field, and then focus on what it is that he wants, and then he'll connect in with that reality. So just kind of a trippy way to think about something like that. But I think that's about it. It's just, I guess the biggest hurdle is going beyond what my mind is telling me. What my mind is trying to say usually is, I know I'll be more enlightened, or I'll be more aware, or I'll have a happier relationship, but I want him to do the dishes. So what is it, the argument that the guy had? He said, it was something like, what if I do all this work on myself and nothing happens and she doesn't change? Or what if she says, what if I do all this work on myself and he never does the dishes? Should I get out of the relationship and all those kind of things? Well, that's one end of it. Yeah, no need to be abused in a relationship if it were to come to that. And it is something to get your needs met. But that question comes from the egoic mind. So you are the being that says, I am going to do it all. I'm going to expand myself because I know that I was never born and I will never die. And so I will do the work. But the mind comes in and says, yeah, but what if they don't do their work? And then you're stuck in this relationship, and then this is going to happen. All that kind of thinking, all that kind of thought process is all the egoic mind that is not really concerned about you. It doesn't really care about your needs as a divine being of consciousness. It's really concerned about its needs. So really, really pay some attention to that one. So if you were to say something like, I'm going to do this work, and if it doesn't reflect back to me in some kind of change in my outside world, I'm going to do the work. If it gets worse in my reality that she doesn't do dishes even more, I'm going to do the work, because it causes me to know myself more, to know myself, to heal and integrate those little triggers that I've had in my life forever, probably. So I can't get caught in the trap of, I'm going to do this so that my outside world changes, which it will, but that can't be a condition. Like I really need to see that for myself, is that, I wanted my person I was with to really change so that I would get my needs met. So she would show up differently in my life. But I could feel myself, my mind, getting myself in this trap of, crossing my arms and getting into a little bit of victim consciousness and a little poor me, and saying, well, God, this never happens. And, all that kind of stuff. And I finally saw that. I saw how that had been kind of running me and controlling me for a long time. And I finally said, it's a very liberating feeling to come out of that and see what your own mind has been doing, and say, I know that's a valid argument, but I'm not going to do it. I'm going to stay on this path because I love myself. I want to love myself more. And I know that this feels expansive, and it's tough. It's tough work, especially at the very beginning, but I'm going to stay in it. And it gets easier and easier and easier. And it's just so cool how less things affect you, even though there are still things that could affect you. They don't take you down, and really your life is more and more joyful. Like you hear these people say, every day is a blessing, every day is joyful and stuff. Actually, some of those people, that's true for. And it's kind of weird the first time that you see yourself saying something like that. It's not bullshit, and you're just not giving some kind of a spiritual thing. It's actually true, because you've done a lot of work. Yeah, there's more work to be done on myself until the time that I pass. But I've done enough work that life has really changed for me. And that's something that I can really say out of real honesty, is that life is pretty joyful. And it was only sucked when my mind was really controlling me, giving me all these thoughts and stuff. So there's this real like determination, really sticking to this. And even as your mind is giving you all these reasons why you shouldn't, it becomes the reason. Here I am. Like when I would smoke, and I didn't never smoked it very much, but when I was in the Navy, you smoked during your watch or something, but I smoked enough that it just became this tiny little habit. And then I thought about quitting. And then, a little thought came in and said, yeah, but what about after sex? Or what about when you're having a beer? Or why don't you just buy a pack and take one out? And I was like, all those little thoughts, that was the reason that caused me to be motivated to really quit. So I want to invite you that as you have these thoughts of why you shouldn't stick to this inner processing, this inner work, this self-inquiry, that's the reason. That becomes the reason. So you're in it, and your mind comes and goes, yeah, but look at her, she's not. That's the reason. It's because the mind is coming in. You see what I'm saying? It becomes your reason. Look at that. Your mind is trying to manipulate you. Anyway, that helps me out, as I realize that I don't want to listen to that very convincing validation that I should stop the work that makes me feel good. So that's my reasoning to, yes, the person should be more considerate, and they shouldn't, because when they're not considerate, it stirs up something in you that is not really created from now. It's created from when you were a child. You brought it into this relationship, and the fact that they stir that up is an opportunity to work on it. But it's very hard to work on this when we don't have any tools or processes or someone to work with. So reach out to somebody, whether it's me or anyone, to work on some kind of a process that helps you heal and integrate that in your life. So last thing real quick, September 22nd, 23rd, and 24th, Valerie and I are having a day, spiritual day retreat on the 22nd and a 2-day relationship retreat here at our Hummingbird House in Cornville, which is 25 miles just outside of Sedona. We got the creek, we got the sweat lodge and the medicine wheel and just beautiful property and great teaching and breath work and meditation. Everything's going to be awesome. You can look at that at thehummingbbirdhouse.org. And then we got the men's retreat coming up in October, October 12th through 15th. I'm not a great marketer. I should be better at this. So if you're even thinking about joining that retreat, it's going to be fantastic. It was last time too. But if you're thinking about it but haven't pulled the trigger, should pull the trigger, because I'll get to a certain place and I go, well, I guess it, just wasn't supposed to happen. I just didn't get any input on it. So if you're kind of in the background thinking about it, you really need to start to reach out to me and let you know at least that you're thinking about it. Because I believe the deposit on it is only $363, and the whole thing is like $14.97. So you could just deposit $363, and then we could get this going, because there's a big deposit that I need to put down for the place. So I usually wait until some guys have shown up and start put down their deposit. So pull the trigger or it won't happen. All right. So look forward to seeing you. Thank you. Bless you. I love you. Till next time.